You wake up every single day with that same feeling. That tightness in your chest, like an invisible belt squeezing your ribs from the inside. You cough, and the cough comes deep, muffled, with that low rumble rising from your lungs as if someone were dragging furniture across a dark room. You spit, you look down at the bathroom sink, and you see that yellowish color that has become the wallpaper of your morning. Then you walk up the stairs in your house. 3 steps, 4 steps, and by the time you reach the landing, you have to stop. Your breath is gone. Your legs keep going, but the air just doesn't come, and you light up that first cigarette of the day. Because that's what you've always done. Because after all these years, your body just asks for it. I'm a physician, and for nearly 20 years, I've been seeing men and women in my office who crossed 50, 60, 70 years old smoking their whole lives, and they all walk through my door with the same question written in their eyes before they even open their mouths. Doc, is it too late for me? Today I'm going to answer that question. And more than that, I'm going to give you the morning protocol that science has shown can help restore real lung capacity, lower chronic inflammation, and clear out a meaningful amount of the tar and gunk built up inside your airways. Stick with me until the end, because I saved the 4th pillar for last, and that's the one that surprises my patients the most. Not because it's complicated, because it's the simplest and the most ignored of them all. But before we go any further, I have to be straight with you. The title of this video talks about your lungs breathing again. And I have to explain that properly, because my commitment here is medical truth, not hype. A lung damaged by decades of smoking does not turn back into a child's lung. That's not how biology works. What is real, and what science has actually demonstrated in solid studies, is that the lungs have a remarkable capacity for partial regeneration when you stop smoking and adopt very specific morning habits. Habits that stimulate the cleaning cilia in your bronchial tubes, lower the chronic inflammation, and improve how oxygen reaches your bloodstream. That part is real, that part is measurable, and that part can change your life. Now let me explain what has happened to your lungs up until today, because understanding the problem is the first step to facing the solution. Picture your lungs like a huge city. A city with more than 300 million tiny houses we call alveoli, all connected by a network of avenues and side streets we call bronchioles. Each one of those avenues has a sidewalk lined with microscopic little brooms called cilia, working 24 hours a day, sweeping debris back out. When you smoke, it's as if you've been pouring burnt oil, tar, and over 4,000 toxic substances onto that city, for decades, without a break. The little brooms get clogged, the streets jam up. Some of the houses, the alveoli, lose their walls and merge together, forming useless air pockets that can no longer trade oxygen for carbon dioxide. The body's firefighters, your defense cells, show up to clean the mess and end up trapped inside the fire, creating chronic inflammation. And here's the part almost nobody talks about. When you smoke past the age of 50, your body no longer regenerates at the speed it did at 20. The brooms take longer to rebuild. The inflammation takes longer to settle. The alveoli that were lost don't come back. But, and this is the point that changes everything, the alveoli that are still intact can be cleaned, restored to function, and protected from further damage. And the morning protocol I'm about to share with you was designed exactly for that. Before we get to the first pillar, let me tell you about Joe. 73 years old, retired construction foreman, born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, father of 3, grandfather of 6. Smoking since he was 14. When he walked into my office, he handed me a lung function test showing almost 40% reduction in capacity. He couldn't carry his youngest grandson across the front yard anymore. He was climbing the slope of his own driveway and stopping 3 times to catch his breath. And he told me, with those tired eyes, "Doc, I just don't have the wind to live anymore. Is there anything I can still do?" Yes, there was. There is. And that's what we're going to talk about now. The first pillar of the morning protocol is targeted lung hydration. Before coffee, before that first cigarette, before anything else, 2 large glasses of room temperature water. But this isn't just drinking for the sake of drinking. There is a precise biological reason behind it. Overnight, the mucus that lines your airways becomes thicker. That yellowish secretion you cough up in the morning is dense and stuck, precisely because it has gone hours without proper hydration. When you drink water right after waking, you thin out that mucus. Translating that to plain language, it's like running a hose over a sidewalk packed with dry sand. The water softens it, dilutes it, and helps the cilia push everything out. Researchers at the University of Nottingham in England, in a study published in the European Respiratory Journal, showed that patients with chronic bronchitis who increased morning water intake saw measurable improvement in mucus clearance within just 2 weeks. Think about that. 2 weeks. 1 extra glass of water in the morning, and your lung city starts unclogging the side streets. Look, I know it sounds too simple, but it's exactly in the simple things where the real power of treatment lives. The second pillar is diaphragmatic breathing, and this is where the conversation gets really important. People who've been smoking for decades slowly lose the ability to use the diaphragm, that big parachute-shaped muscle sitting just below your lungs. You start breathing only with the upper part of your chest, in short, shallow, inefficient movements. It's like trying to inflate a balloon by blowing through pursed lips without ever using your full breath. Air gets in, but it never reaches the deep alveoli where real gas exchange happens. Diaphragmatic breathing reverses part of that pattern, and here's how you do it. Sitting down, back supported, one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. Breathe in through your nose, counting to 4, letting your belly rise, not your chest. Hold that breath, counting to 2. Breathe out through your mouth, lips slightly pursed as if you were blowing out a candle very slowly, counting to 6. Repeat 10 times. Every morning, on an empty stomach. Mary Ann, 58 years old, a seamstress from Knoxville, Tennessee, mother of 4, smoking a pack a day since she was 19. When she started this exercise, she felt dizzy in the first week. She thought she was doing something wrong. She wasn't. Her brain was simply receiving real oxygen for the first time in a long while, and her body needed to adjust to that new supply. 3 months later, she told me, "Doc, something feels different on the inside. I'm sleeping better. I wake up without that pressure, and I can walk up the hill to my church without having to stop." She still hadn't quit smoking completely, but the diaphragmatic breathing was already giving her quality of life back. And this is where I want to ask you for something, before we get to the 2 most important pillars. If this information is making sense to you, if you're recognizing your own morning in the story I'm telling, do me a favor right now. Hit the like button. That simple gesture helps this video reach more people who are smoking past 50 and need to hear this. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe and turn on the bell. And tell me in the comments which state you're watching this from, because I love seeing where this community is growing. Now let's get to the third pillar, and here the numbers get impressive. The third pillar is steam inhalation with natural anti-inflammatory compounds. And listen, this is not your grandma's home remedy. There's real science behind it. A study published in Phytotherapy Research showed that steam inhalation with eucalyptus extract may reduce bronchial mucus viscosity by up to 30% in chronic smokers. 30%. That's a substantial reduction, and it's measurable. How do you do it? A bowl of hot, just boiled water, 5 drops of eucalyptus essential oil, or 3 fresh leaves if you can find them, a towel covering your head in the bowl, and you breathe in slowly through your nose for 10 minutes. The steam carries the active compound, eucalyptol, straight into your airways. Once inside, it does 2 things. First, it thins the mucus even more than what the water already loosened in Pillar 1. Second, it has a direct anti-inflammatory effect on the bronchial lining. Think of it this way. If diaphragmatic breathing is the workout for the parachute muscle, steam inhalation is the chemical cleaning crew that comes in afterward and sweeps out what got left behind. And there's one more detail. Steam inhalation can help loosen the deeper retained phlegm, especially in those pockets where tar has accumulated for years. It's not magic, and not all the tar comes out, but a real fraction is mobilized and expelled. 7 days of morning steam inhalation already produces visible changes in the color and amount of what you cough up. But hold on, because now we get to the part I consider the most important. The fourth pillar. The one I save for last because it surprises everybody. The fourth pillar is morning consumption of specific antioxidants to repair the oxidative stress in your lungs. And pay close attention here, because this is one of the most overlooked, in the sense that most people have no idea it even exists. When you smoke, every single drag dumps billions of molecules called free radicals into your lungs. Those molecules are like tiny sparks burning the alveolar walls from the inside out, bit by bit, year after year. Your body has a natural defense system against those sparks, based on antioxidants it produces and that it gets from food. But in smokers over 50, that system is overloaded, worn out. It can't keep up with the volume of fire. The solution is to refuel that system every single morning, with concentrated sources of 3 specific compounds. The first one is vitamin C. Not from a pill, but from real fruit. A whole orange or half a grapefruit or a kiwi. Vitamin C is probably the most well-studied antioxidant in smokers. Researchers at the Linus Pauling Institute at Oregon State University demonstrated that smokers consume vitamin C at roughly twice the rate that non-smokers need, precisely to neutralize the free radicals from cigarettes. Without that morning refill, the burning continues. The second compound is sulforaphane. A strange word, I know, but it's simple. Sulforaphane is the substance found in high concentrations in broccoli, especially lightly steamed broccoli. A study published in the American Journal of Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine, conducted by researchers at Johns Hopkins University, showed that sulforaphane activates a protein in the lung called NRF2, which works like the manager of your lung's cleaning operation. Without sulforaphane, the manager sits with his arms crossed. With sulforaphane consumed in the morning, the manager goes to work and reorganizes the cleanup crew. A small portion, about the size of your closed fist, is enough. The third compound is curcumin, which comes from turmeric. Half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, dissolved in half a cup of warm water with a pinch of black pepper to boost absorption, taken on an empty stomach. Curcumin lowers chronic airway inflammation and has documented effects in protecting the alveoli from cigarette-induced degeneration, in research conducted at the University of Mumbai in India. Think about it with me. You have a defense system that's running on empty, and in the morning, on an empty stomach, with your lungs in maximum cleaning mode, you hand them exactly the 3 fuels they need to repair yesterday's damage. It's like sending 3 maintenance crews into the building before working hours, so everything is ready when the day begins. And here's the part that hurts me most as a physician. It's not when a patient walks in with a diagnosis of advanced emphysema. That's painful, but it's the end of a story. What hurts me most is when a patient says, "Doc, I felt that tightness in my chest for years, but I figured it was just my age. I figured it was just the cigarettes. Nobody told me there was something I could do in the morning, at home, without medication, to actually help my lungs." And when I see in those eyes the realization that 5, 10, 15 years went by without anyone giving them this information, I feel that medicine has to do more than treat disease. It has to teach prevention and repair. Let's go back to Joe, the retired foreman from Pittsburgh who came in without the wind to carry his grandson. He applied the 4 pillars every morning. He kept smoking the first 2 months, then started cutting back gradually. 4 months later, he came back with a new lung function test. He had recovered 8% of his lung capacity. That might sound small, but he told me, "Doc, yesterday I carried my youngest grandson all the way to the front gate, without stopping. It's been almost 4 years since I last did that." That sentence stayed with me. It's worth more than any spirometry reading. Before we close, I have to warn you about something important. The 4-pillar protocol works much better, far better, when combined with progressive reduction and, ideally, quitting cigarettes. Continuing to smoke while doing the protocol is like trying to clean a room while someone keeps throwing trash on the floor at the same time. You make some progress, but the damage continues. If you haven't been able to quit yet, start with the protocol, feel the benefits, and use that new respiratory energy as fuel to slowly reduce the number of cigarettes. And whenever you make any major change, talk to your doctor. That's a rule that never changes. You also need to avoid 3 things in the morning. First, prolonged fasting without antioxidant replenishment, because it leaves the lungs exposed. Second, intense exercise before hydration and diaphragmatic breathing, because it overloads a system that isn't ready yet. Third, plain black coffee as your first drink of the day, because it dehydrates and works against the mucus thinning. Coffee comes after, and water comes first. So let's recap what you need to do every morning, in the right order. Right after waking, 2 large glasses of room temperature water, then 10 cycles of diaphragmatic breathing, then 10 minutes of steam inhalation with eucalyptus, and finally, the antioxidant trio. Vitamin C from whole fruit, a portion of lightly steamed broccoli eaten by mid-morning, and the half teaspoon of turmeric with black pepper dissolved in warm water. 4 pillars, about 40 minutes total, spread across your morning. A minimal investment for a whole lung city that's been needing a cleanup. Your lungs are not your enemy. They're trying every single day to repair what they can. Every little broom that still works, every alveolus still intact, every blood vessel still carrying oxygen to your brain, is a worker still on the job despite all those years of damage. All they need is for you, in the morning, to hand them the right tools to do their work. And I'm going to ask you one thing. Share this video with that uncle who lights up before his first cup of coffee, with that neighbor who has been coughing every morning for years and swears it's just the weather, with your father who keeps saying it's already too late. It's not too late. It's never too late to start breathing better. In the next video, I'm going to show you the 5 breakfast foods that look completely innocent, but quietly worsen lung inflammation in anyone who smokes or used to smoke. The 4th one on the list is a staple in almost every American kitchen, and almost nobody suspects the damage it causes. You won't want to miss it. Take care of your lungs. They are the city still breathing for you. Clean the streets, hydrate the avenues, feed the workers. Your lung city has more strength left than you can imagine.